What you're about to hear are not ghost stories. These are real events, documented, terrifying, and disturbingly unexplained. 5 cases where the truth is far darker than any horror movie. Mysterious deaths, chilling disappearances, and events so disturbing, they still haunt investigators to this day. This is 5 disturbing cases with terrifying backstories. And once you enter, there's no turning back. The Elisa Lam Elevator Mystery. What you're about to see is one of the most disturbing pieces of surveillance footage ever recorded. A young woman, alone in a hotel elevator, acting strange, moving in ways no one can explain. She hides. She gestures at something invisible. And then she vanishes. Days later, her body is discovered in a place so horrifying it left investigators speechless. This is not just a tragedy. This is a nightmare. This is the story of Elisa Lam and the elevator mystery, the last trip. It was January 2013. Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old student from Canada, traveled alone to Los Angeles. She wanted adventure, to see the world, and she kept her family updated every day through phone calls and social media posts. She checked into the Cecil Hotel, a building with a dark reputation. Located in downtown LA, near the infamous Skid Row, the hotel was known for crime, drugs, and decades of suicides and deaths. But Elisa didn't know the full history. For her, it was just a cheap place to stay. She seemed cheerful, excited, but that would change quickly. The elevator footage on February 1st, 2013, Elisa disappeared. Her family grew worried when she stopped contacting them. Police were called, and after days of searching, investigators released a CCTV video to the public. That footage would become one of the most viral, disturbing clips in internet history. The video shows Elisa entering the hotel elevator. At first, she presses multiple buttons. The elevator doors remain strangely open. Then, her behavior changes. She steps in and out of the elevator as if hiding from someone unseen. She peeks outside nervously, then jumps back in. Her hands make bizarre gestures. Her fingers twist and move as if she's communicating with something that isn't there. At one point, she presses herself into a corner, frozen with fear. The strangest part? The elevator door refuses to close. It remains open for nearly 3 full minutes, longer than it should under any normal setting. The footage ends with Elisa stepping out and disappearing from view. That was the last time she was seen alive. The discovery. For weeks, police and hotel staff searched. Guests began complaining about the water, low pressure, strange taste, and even dark-colored liquid coming from the taps. Maintenance workers went to the rooftop water tanks, and that's where they found her. Elisa's body was floating inside one of the massive tanks. She was naked, her clothes floating beside her. The lid of the tank was closed. The questions multiplied. How did she get onto the rooftop when access was locked and alarmed? How did she climb into the tank, which was heavy and difficult to open? And why was she alone? Her death was ruled an accidental drowning, possibly linked to her mental health struggles. But nothing about the circumstances made sense. Theories. The case sparked endless debate and conspiracy theories. Theory 1. Mental breakdown. Elisa was known to have bipolar disorder. Some believe she suffered a psychotic episode which explained her strange behavior in the elevator. But even if true, it doesn't explain the malfunctioning doors or how she accessed the rooftop tanks. Theory 2. Someone was following her. Her gestures and hiding suggested she was being stalked. Did someone force her onto the roof? Did they cover up the evidence? Yet no one else appears in the footage. Theory 3. Supernatural forces. The Cecil Hotel has a dark history. Serial killers, suicides, countless deaths. Some believe the hotel itself is cursed. Was Elisa reacting to something paranormal? The way her hands moved, the elevator refusing to close. It all felt unnatural. Theory 4. A cover-up. Others suggest there was foul play and a police cover-up. The video released to the public appeared edited, parts missing, timestamps blurred. What was removed and why? The legacy, the Elisa Lam case, remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries of the 21st century. Her story inspired documentaries, horror shows, and endless online speculation. But at its core, it's a tragedy. A young woman, full of dreams, gone in the most chilling and unexplained way. Was it an accident, a crime, or something far darker? The answers lie locked in the shadows of the Cecil Hotel, where Elisa Lam's last moments still haunt the elevator that never closed. 9 hikers went into the frozen Ural Mountains. Only their corpses came back. Bodies mutilated, tongues missing, skulls crushed. And the most terrifying detail, their tent was slashed open from the inside. Whatever happened to them in that cold, moonless night of 1959 has never been fully explained. This is not just a mystery. This is a nightmare written in snow. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident, the journey of hope. It was January 1959. A group of 10 young hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute in the Soviet Union set out on what was supposed to be the adventure of their lives. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, just 23 years old, brilliant, determined, and respected among his peers. His team consisted of experienced skiers and mountaineers, 8 men and 2 women, all in their 20s. They wanted to reach the remote Atorton Mountain, a challenging trek in the Ural Mountains, covered with endless snow and battered by icy winds. For them, this was not just a trip, it was a test of endurance, a chance to prove themselves. They sang songs, carried cameras, and kept journals. Every entry showed excitement, humour, and optimism. None of them could have known that these diary pages would one day be used as evidence in one of the most disturbing unsolved cases in history. Into the white silence. The first days went smoothly, but soon the weather turned vicious. The winds howled like sirens. Temperatures dropped to -30 degrees Celsius, and heavy snow made every step unbearable. On January 28th, one member, Yuri Idin, fell ill and had to return home. He would later say that this sickness saved his life. The remaining 9 pushed forward. By February 1st, they set up camp on the slopes of Kholat Shakhl. The name itself is chilling. It means dead mountain in the local Mansi language. Instead of moving into the safety of the forest below, they pitched their tent in the open slope, a decision that would later baffle investigators. That night was the last time anyone saw them alive. The tent of terror. When the hikers failed to return, Search teams were sent. It took weeks to find their campsite. What rescuers discovered was straight out of a horror movie. The tent was half buried in snow. Inside, all belongings were untouched. Jackets, boots, food, diaries. But here's the disturbing part. The tent was slashed open from the inside. It looked as though the hikers had panicked and cut their way out, running into the freezing night half-dressed, barefoot, and completely unprotected. But why? What could make 9 experienced hikers run into certain death without their winter gear? The bodies. The first bodies were found a mile away, under a cedar tree. 2 men, almost naked, barefoot, their skin blackened by frostbite. It looked like they had tried to light a small fire, their hands covered in cuts, as if they had clawed at the tree in desperation. 3 more bodies were found scattered in the snow, frozen in crawling positions, as though they had tried to return to the tent but collapsed along the way. And then, months later, the final 4 were discovered in a ravine. Their condition shocked investigators. 1 had a shattered skull, 2 had broken ribs and massive internal injuries, but no external wounds, almost like they had been crushed by a force stronger than a car accident. 1 woman was found with her eyes missing. Another. Her tongue was gone. And strangest of all, their clothes contained high levels of radiation. The official reports could not explain how or why this happened. The theories. Over the years, countless theories have tried to explain the Dyatlov mystery. Theory 1. Avalanche. The Soviet government concluded it was an avalanche, but this makes little sense. The slope was too shallow, no signs of heavy snow movement were found, and the tent remained visible above the snow. Theory 2. Military experiments. Some believe the hikers accidentally wandered into a secret Soviet weapon test, perhaps parachute mines or radiation-based experiments. The bizarre injuries and radiation traces support this chilling possibility. Theory 3. Yeti or supernatural force. Conspiracy theorists suggest a Yeti alien encounter or some unknown force drove them to madness. Even one of the hikers' diaries jokingly mentioned snowmen. But the brutality of the injuries gives this theory a terrifying edge. Theory 4. Infrasound panic. Another scientific explanation is infrasound, low-frequency sound waves created by the wind against the mountain. Infrasound can cause panic, nausea, and irrational behavior. Perhaps the hikers, driven mad by unseen forces, tore their way out of the tent in confusion. Part 6. The Legacy of Fear. The Soviet government quickly sealed files on the Dyatlov case. For decades, details were hidden, fueling more speculation. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened on that mountain. Were they victims of nature, military experiments, or something much darker? Case 3. The Ghost Car. Chase. What happens when even the police can't explain what their own cameras record? A high-speed pursuit. A car chased by multiple police units. Suddenly performs the impossible. It vanishes. The officers on the scene were left stunned. Their dashcam footage replayed again and again on TV. And to this day, no one can fully explain it. This is the terrifying mystery of the ghost car chase. The pursuit begins. It was 2002 in Savannah, Georgia. A routine traffic stop quickly escalated into a bizarre police chase that would become one of the most disturbing pieces of dashcam evidence ever recorded. Police spotted a suspicious car and signaled it to pull over. Instead of stopping, the driver suddenly sped up. Sirens blared, red and blue lights reflected across the night, and the chase was on. For minutes, the pursuit twisted through dark roads, the suspect weaving recklessly, narrowly avoiding crashes. The dashcam caught every second, officers calling out directions, their engines roaring as they closed in. The suspect seemed desperate, but nothing could prepare the officers for what came next. The fence. The chase led to a dead end, an industrial lot surrounded by a solid chain-link fence, reinforced with steel. There was no way out. The police were confident they had trapped the car. The dashcam shows the suspect racing directly toward the fence. But instead of stopping or crashing into it, the car passes straight through the barrier. On video, it looks as if the vehicle literally phases through the steel fence, disappearing onto the other side. The police screech to a halt, stunned. When they inspect the fence seconds later, they find it completely intact. No hole, no damage, not even a scratch. How could a full-sized car and its driver pass through solid metal without leaving a trace? Theories. The footage quickly went viral, broadcast on news channels and paranormal shows across the country. Experts, skeptics, and believers all tried to explain what happened. Theory 1. Camera illusion. Some skeptics argue it was simply an optical illusion. The angle of the dashcam, combined with poor lighting, may have made it look like the car drove through the fence, when in reality, it may have slipped through a gap or opening not visible in the video. Theory 2. Police cover-up. Others suspect a cover-up. Perhaps the police lost the suspect and edited the footage to save face. But if that's true, why release the video at all? Theory 3. Supernatural encounter. For paranormal enthusiasts, this was undeniable evidence of something far stranger. A ghost car. A vehicle not bound by the laws of physics, appearing and disappearing at will. Some even connected it to stories of phantom cars in folklore, vehicles that appear on lonely highways, only to vanish without explanation. The aftermath. The officers themselves were never able to explain it. In interviews, they admitted what the footage shows is exactly what they saw. The car went through a fence that was still standing when they arrived. The case has never been officially solved. No suspect was identified. No car was recovered. To this day, the dashcam recording remains one of the most unsettling police videos ever made public. A chase that defies explanation. A car that seems to bend the very laws of reality. Was this a trick of light? A carefully hidden escape route? Or proof of something far beyond our understanding? Whatever the truth may be, the ghost car chase still stands as one of the strangest, most disturbing cases ever caught on camera. And it leaves us asking, if this can happen right in front of the police, what else is out there, hidden in the dark? Case 4. The Silent Twins, June and Jennifer Gibbons. What if two people shared such an unbreakable, mysterious bond that they created a secret world of their own? A world so dark and disturbing that not even their own family could reach them. This is the true story of the Silent Twins. A case so haunting, psychologists still struggle to explain it. a story of obsession, isolation, and a chilling fate that left the world with more questions than answers. The beginning, June and Jennifer Gibbons were born in 1963 in Barbados, but grew up in the United Kingdom. From an early age, they were inseparable, two sisters who seemed to live in a world of their own. At home, they rarely spoke to their parents or siblings. At school, teachers described them as completely silent, refusing to communicate with anyone else. But when they were alone together, something strange happened. They would talk non-stop, in a secret language that only they understood. It wasn't English, and it wasn't gibberish. It was a private, coded system, developed over years, impenetrable to anyone but them. The Silent Twins had created their own world, and no one else was allowed inside. The dark bond. As they grew older, their silence became more disturbing. Psychologists noticed something unusual. June and Jennifer mirrored each other's movements perfectly. If one crossed her arms, the other did too. If one refused to eat, the other would starve herself as well. They were like reflections, two bodies, one mind. But their relationship was not peaceful. They wrote in diaries that revealed terrifying emotions, jealousy, anger, and even violent fantasies toward each other. Jennifer once wrote, "We have become fatal enemies in each other's eyes. We feel their irritating deadly rays come out of our bodies, stinging each other. It was as if they were trapped in a psychological prison together, crime and confinement." In their teenage years, the twins retreated deeper into their world. They spent hours writing dark stories, full of crime and violence. But eventually, their fantasies became reality. They set fire to buildings. They committed theft. They vandalized property. Their crimes escalated until authorities had no choice but to intervene. In 1981, at just 18 years old, June and Jennifer were sentenced to Broadmoor, one of Britain's most notorious psychiatric hospitals. They were kept there for 11 years. Doctors and staff were disturbed by what they witnessed. The twins often sat motionless for hours, staring at each other. Sometimes they would suddenly attack each other with terrifying rage. Other times they would whisper rapidly in their secret language, laughing at things no one else could understand. It was as if they were in constant battle, yet completely unable to live apart. The tragedy. In 1993, after years of confinement, the twins were finally approved to be transferred to a lower security facility. Everyone hoped this would give them a chance to live normal lives, but then something chilling happened. On the day of their transfer, Jennifer told June, "At long last, we're free. I'm going to have to die hours later." Jennifer collapsed. She was rushed to the hospital, but doctors could not save her. She died suddenly from a mysterious inflammation of the heart. There were no drugs, no signs of foul play, no clear medical explanation. June was devastated. But something even more unsettling happened after Jennifer's death. For the first time in her life, June began to speak, clearly, openly, and freely. It was as if Jennifer's death had released her from the pact that bound them. To this day, no one knows exactly why Jennifer died. Some believe it was a natural but rare heart condition. Others suspect it was something far more chilling, that Jennifer somehow willed herself to die to free her sister. Two sisters, trapped in a world of silence. A bond so strong it destroyed them both. The silent twins remain one of the most disturbing and unexplainable cases of psychological obsession ever recorded. And it forces us to ask, how much control do we really have over our own fate? And how much of it can be bound to someone else? Case 5. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. Imagine a group of young explorers heading into the snowy wilderness, healthy, experienced, and full of life. But just days later, their bodies are found scattered across the frozen landscape, half-dressed, mutilated, and surrounded by clues so bizarre that even today, over 60 years later, nobody can fully explain what happened. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident, one of the most terrifying unsolved mysteries in history. The journey begins. In January 1959, 9 students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in the Soviet Union set out on a challenging ski expedition. Led by Igor Dyatlov, the group was highly experienced and well prepared. They carried supplies, cameras, and detailed diaries documenting every step of their journey. Their destination, a remote mountain pass in the Ural Mountains. Little did they know, that mountain would later bear their name, Dyatlov Pass, because of the horrors that unfolded there. The Night of Terror. On February 1st, the group pitched their tent on the snowy slopes of Koletskakal, known locally as the Mountain of the Dead. That night, something went horribly wrong. When rescuers found the campsite weeks later, the tent was discovered, slashed open from the inside. The hikers had cut their way out in the middle of the night, fleeing into the freezing storm without shoes, coats, or supplies. Why would 9 experienced hikers do something so irrational? That's the first disturbing mystery. The Discovery search teams followed the tracks down the slope. What they found was beyond disturbing. 2 bodies, dressed only in underwear, were discovered near a burned-out campfire. Their hands were blackened, as if they had tried desperately to keep warm. 3 more bodies, including leader Igor Dyatlov, were found scattered in the snow, as though they had collapsed while trying to return to the tent. But the final 4 bodies, buried under several feet of snow in a ravine, revealed the most horrifying details. 1 woman was missing her tongue and eyes. Another had massive chest fractures, as if she had been struck with a force far beyond human capability. Yet strangely, there were no external wounds. It was as if the injuries came from inside, like the result of a car crash. Even more chilling, traces of radioactive material were found on some of their clothes. The theories. The Dyatlov Pass incident sparked decades of theories, each more disturbing than the last. Avalanche? Investigators considered it, but the slope was too shallow, and the tent was left standing. Military tests? Some suggest the hikers stumbled into a secret Soviet weapons experiment, explaining the radiation and bizarre injuries. Paranormal forces? Locals believed in mountain spirits, and some claim the hikers encountered something not of this world. Infrasound theory. A rare weather phenomenon may have caused low-frequency sound waves, inducing panic and hallucinations, driving the hikers into the night. Despite endless speculation, the truth remains elusive. The legacy. The Dyatlov Pass incident has never been fully solved. Every piece of evidence only raises more questions. Why were the hikers half dressed in sub-zero temperatures? What caused such brutal, unexplained injuries? And why did trained, logical mountaineers suddenly act with such madness? To this day, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most chilling mysteries ever captured in history. A frozen horror story written in snow, ice, and silence. 9 lives lost in the mountains, 9 mysteries that may never be solved, and a haunting reminder that nature, and perhaps forces beyond our understanding, can hold terrifying secrets. The Dyatlov Pass incident is not just a tragedy, it is a nightmare carved into history, one that ensures the mountain will forever be known as the Mountain of the Dead.